Okay, so hi everyone. Thanks for joining this community event, and I'm Cyril, Executive Director of Maker Bay Foundations. And it is really great that today we have Florence, Cameron, and Turzo to share about their journey as an entrepreneur. So I believe that you will have a lot of questions about like how they start their business, especially they using AI for some social impact. So I will start from some introduction first, and then we will have speakers individual sharing and then a panel discussion. So if you guys have any questions, anything you want to ask, just feel free to put it in the chat. We'll have the right hand side there is a message box, or you can put in the Q&A part. So maybe I share my screen first. Okay, so yep. So this community event is part of our Jockey Cup AI Community Innovation Program. And this program, it aims to bring the AI training and the knowledge to the young people so that we can know what is AI, which is a very, very famous or common word, but how it works, and it is something very difficult to learn. So we, through different kind of training and different programs, we want to bring the AI training to the students and also make use of AI to tackle the social or environmental issues. So before we start, I would like to share a bit like what is the program and why we want to do this.
每一日，我哋都要面對唔同嘅挑戰，但係我哋從來未驚過，因為我哋知道，只要調整好心態，就可以適應唔同嘅環境同困難。的確，呢個地方有好多嘢要改善，但係我哋對呢度嘅人好有信心，因為佢哋堅強、不屈、勇敢，無懼一切難題。可能你都未必留意到，其實你都係其中一個，係我哋每一個令呢個城市變得更好、更靚。當我哋傾偈，當我哋想打俾媽咪，當我哋揸車，又或者係坐車，當我哋發現錯誤，抑或想瘋狂學習，當我哋只係想放鬆一下，定係想挑戰自己。如果我哋都唔隨波逐流，而係成為一個為世界創造更多可能嘅人，想像下有個地方可以啟發你之餘，又可以同人分享知識。喺呢度，我哋唔怕試新事物，就算失敗咗唔緊要，咪再嚟過咯。喺呢度，我哋可以同志同道合嘅朋友一齊努力，一齊為社區同埋下一代建立更好嘅生活環境。只要我哋相信自己，咁我哋仲驚啲咩？今日嘅創新會成為明日嘅生活日常，每日研發嘅新科技會帶領世界下一秒嘅潮流，就好似當人類第一次將燈泡帶入屋入邊嗰種感動，第一次睇到彩色電視嗰種興奮，仲有第一次隔住熒幕同屋企人團聚嗰種心情。記住呢個感覺，將佢轉化成創新嘅動力，相信未來就掌握喺我哋手中。
Yeah, this is why and what we want to achieve through the program. So there's a lot of possibilities of AI and the new technologies. So this program and the workshop we conduct is that through some simple workshop and the games and the activities, so that we can understand also the young people can know what is AI and how it can be implemented for tackle the social and environmental issues. So actually in the whole program, we have community workshops for the young people to learn AI, and also we have capacity building workshop to enable other professionals who are interested in AI technology and also want to support the young people as well. And this kind of community event is channels we can learn more about how others work and what is like some solution in existing and using AI to make an impact. And so there is quite a lot of different kind of activities in the whole program. So if you want to learn more, just keep in touch and see our website and social media. So okay, that is how our program works. We have quite a lot of now we can have some face-to-face workshop, and previously we did a lot online training as well. And also we do quarterly we do challenge day, which allow the student to make use of AI to tackle some real situations, but not just learning the coding or the programming in a classroom. So actually, Maker Foundation is not just doing AI or some technology training. Our goal is that we want to empower the young people through maker education and innovation to achieve positive social and environmental impact. So we have woodwork, metal, some 3D printing, laser cut machine in our makerspace in Chunwan. So if you guys want to learn more, then just feel free to visit our space. And the last one, this is today we have a webinar to talk about entrepreneurship, the entrepreneur journey. And in this Friday night, we have another event. It is a face-to-face event in our space. So it will talk about the behavioral design in product innovations. So if you want to visit our space, have a face-to-face networking and chit-chat with each others. So just feel free to join this event as well. And yeah, I think my team can share our website and social media in the chat if you guys want to learn more. So yeah, that is the basic information about our programs, what we want to do. Then I think it is the time for me to pass my time to the individual sharing. So for each speaker, they will share a bit about their business, how they do it. And if you guys, for the audience, if you have any questions, again, just feel free to put it in the chat, so we know that what you want to learn more, so we can fine tune our content as well. So first, may I invite Florence to share about your journey first. Hey Florence, you are on mute. You need to unmute yourself first.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's good.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Maybe I quickly start over again. So
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm Florence, co-founder and CEO of AI Guided Limited, and actually I'm a recent PhD graduate in biomedical engineering from City University of Hong Kong, and my R&D project is applying the AI technology in neuronal cell study, the cancer cell study, as like a kind of AI object detection, focusing on features study. And before my PhD, actually, I have over 10 plus working experience in manufacturing and automation industry, like to design and development of automating production line, the quality control, or the product development. So back to our journey. Why trigger us to begin this business? Actually, one day when I and my partner hang around in a shopping mall, and we saw that a bunch of people, they moved around in a very inconvenient way. Some of them holding a white can, some of them holding a guide dog, and other people put their hand on another one's shoulder. And then a bunch of people move together. So we are quite have some emotion. We think that why now the technology is quite advanced, that even we have Tesla to development a automobile application, but why can't we autopilot a person? So we start the project. And other reasons is that actually my grandma passed away due to a fall when she hit some obstacle, and then I found that actually that situation may be able to prevent if we have a assistive tool that help the user to avoid the obstacle. So we back to study the market. We think that maybe we can develop a smart wearable for both visually impaired and the elderly. And we study the potential about this market and found that in the world there are over 200 million visually impaired persons. And some of them told us that they don't want to use the white can at night because they're afraid that they may be targeted by some criminals or even make them in a even worse situation. So due to that interview, we found that the visually impaired person are in urgent need to be independent and not to be labeled. And besides the traditional tools like the white cans and guide dog, we also search around the latest technology to serve this market, like the navigation assistive tool, and we found that the current solutions are weak. See, most of them use GPS, but GPS is not precise, especially in indoor environment, or they use auditory feedback, but it's not practical, especially in outdoor environment, which is very noisy, that user may not able to hear clearly about the demand from the device. So we want to cater this situation and have some new product provide to the market. And here is our first concept. Actually, the first concept is a very rough idea that we think that we can use the machine vision working with the LiDAR or other kind of sensors. And then also we have a control unit with the deep RNN or CNN to analyze the data and then give a haptic feedback to drive the user to move automatically. And also, we found another interesting project from Google around 6 years ago. They used a smartphone to help the user to find the path. And because that project is several years ago, it is not as advanced as happened nowadays, but it is a very good initiative that they they try to use AI, but the AI is quite simple that use the edge detection to help the user to find the path. So actually, the technology is quite good, but have the limitation that need to draw the line prior to the detection. That means you need to do lots of preparation before you use the AI. But comparing with this previous technology, our technology actually use the dual camera plus the LiDAR, and also we focus on obstacle avoidance by the machine vision. That means the machine vision make a person decision. So what a person can see, then what our AI can see. So after that analysis, our AI algo can calculate a optical V path and then let the user follow the path to move around. So how they will know that command? We use haptic actuation on left-hand side and right-hand side, like a pair of hands that holding your waist and then give a force to turn your body and let you feel the path automatically. So from the AI demonstration in this, you can see that our algorithm can draw a safe zone in a green line that is its optical V, and in a dynamic situation, the path will change dynamically. So another technology that we use segmentation that we add the semantic segmentation, and so that the calculation to find a green zone, to find the optical V path will be more accurate. So here is a demonstration. In starting from September, our patent technologies is now have a demonstration in Hong Kong Science Park at the first floor, and it demonstrate two key technology. The first technology is the AI vision, and we visualize these AI vision operation with a screen. You can see that it is divided into two paths, the path calculation and also the obstacle detection. And other technology is the AI haptic actuation, and these AI haptic actuation are happened on the smart belt to trigger the movement of the weights. And we have already filed some invention patents starting from Hong Kong software patent and US provisional patent. And also we are recently filed the PCT, that is the Patent Operation Treaty. Besides that, we recently come out a latest product design that we will launch by the end of this year. And then for that design, we have filed a design patent in both Hong Kong and China recently. Our technologies have been developed through hundreds of interviews and testing in different associations, such as the Hong Kong Society for the Blind and Dialogue in the Dark. So here is an example. Our staff is monitoring the device, but do not give any command to the user. But the user holding our device can automatically follow the path to the tasking destination. In this case, is a female toilet. So here is some sharing about our product design generation. Actually, we have gone through several designs based on the feedback and also the user experience collected through the visually impaired persons that they have different kind of visually impairment problem. And then we first in the first period, we have the device size or the weight concern. And then our engineering team is working so hard to try to reduce the hardware part, the size of the hardware part. And then we come up a more convenient wearable form factor like a belt or a body wrap. But we concern some user concerned that they want the design is more trendy, but it is subtle, that do not let the people know they are visually impaired person in immediate. That means they do not want to be labeled. So finally, we come up a latest design that is a smart belt on the waist. So here is the latest design that produced by a professional product design house. And this smart belt consists of two key technologies: the AI visions and then the haptic actuation. The AI vision is operated by the front size camera, and then it is a actually that are two cameras, one camera pointing upward and one camera pointing downward, and it is a wide angle camera. So combining these two vision units, then the full front view can be collected by our machine visions. So actually, our technologies consist of 5 key functions. The first is instant AI obstacle detection, the real-time AI map routing, the haptic actuation guiding to enable the user to feel the path, and it is also internet-free and hands-free to use. So here is our recent prototype that produced by the product design house as well. And then this is a record that we take last week, that we the first trial to wearing the first sample. So our market strategy is to want to solve the pain point due to the traditional tools like the guide dog and the white can first. And then we find that the cost to train a guide dog actually is very costly. And also it is very inefficient, that they have a long application period of at least 2 years. So comparing with guide dog, our solution is much cost effective, a scalable solution with shorter application time. And then the market validation for the visually impaired and the elderly, and we found that besides the huge population of visually impaired person, the elderly population is also very large, as over 700 million, and this number actually is keep increasing. And for the visually impaired, they most of them also have the visual impairment issue, so our device can also help them. So actually, our companies were founded 2 years ago, and then we have supported by 5 fundings, including the TISU funding, the Co-Creation Fund, etc. And also we are recently in the we are in 2 incubators like the Hong Kong Science Park and also the Microsoft Co-Incubation Program. And we are supported by 6 NGOs, including the Office of Chief Information Officer, the Social Welfare Department, the HKCSS the HKCSS platform, etc. And we are also admitted into 5 accelerators, including the HKAI Lab, the AdWorks, and also the NVIDIA Inception program to provide us the professional AI support, including the GPUs or even the technical advice. So we are also very fortunate to receive several awards and honor, like the silver medals at Invention Geneva Evaluation Stage, the Innovation Award of CTINT Grand Challenge, and recently our company received the first runner-up of She Love Tech China, Hong Kong, Macau 2022. Besides, we are also shortlisted to be the top 160 of HP 2022 and also the top 50 of Maker in China 2022. So I would like to highlight the She Love Tech competition. She Love Tech is a global platform to support the woman-led or woman-impaired the companies. And those companies need to have the technology focus. And this year, we are fortunately to be shortlisted to join the semifinal, and then the judge panel from NTR Limited and also the Swile Properties, they recognize our technology and our vision, and then they very kind to give us the first runner-up. And I think this competition means a lot to me because I see the future for the female leader, that they can both work very well in their business. And also on the competition day, my daughter is witnessed my pitch that day too. So in the coming month, we will have several demo showcase in different kind of event and exhibition. Actually, we are now the Inno Carnival 2022 is happening, and we have a booth in the Hong Kong Science Park to showcase our latest technology and the latest product form factor that can let the visitor to try our prototype. And then the next week, we will join the GIES Expo. And then in the mid of November, we are invited by the Taiwan government to join the Meet Taipei. And also the next year, we are preparing to participate in the CES 2023 exhibitions in USA too.
領航智能有限公司，咁佢哋咧亦都帶嚟咗佢嘅人工智能動感導航方案。咁佢咧就會通過人工嘅智能視覺咧，就去技術咧去就係掃描下周圍嘅環境嘅，咁就引導一啲視障人士咧喺無障礙嘅路徑上行走嘅。
So we are fortunate to have some media coverage recently from both by both local media, like in the ICT Press Expos and also the ICT exhibition at the Xingdao, at the TVB, that they do some features for us to report our business and our project. And also as last Saturday, the Mr. Paul Chen has also tried our prototype, and also other guests like the Professor Xun Dong, the Secretary for Innovation and Technology, also try our product. So here is our founding team. I think our company has grown tremendously with a great team, including the founding team and also the advisor team. So today, my sharing is now stop here, and then welcome all the Q&A after the sharing. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Florence. And yeah, after all the individual sharing, we have a panel discussions. So if you guys have any questions during the session, just put in the chat first, and we will handle it like after the discussion part or during the discussion part. Then next, let me invite Cameron to share about his startup as well.
Cool. Hi, everyone. My name is Cameron. I'm co-founder and CEO of Hollo. We're a startup out of HKU focused around precision psychiatry or mental health services. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you a bit more about myself and my background, why I became an entrepreneur, tell you a bit more about the company itself, or if you're considering building AI, I can tell you a bit more from a healthcare perspective that's very clinical orientated. And then I'll show you a showcase of what we're doing at Hollo, and then I'll take questions at the end when Turzo is finished as well. Cool. So myself here, some details if you want to grab, yeah. So actually, I was a big social impact advocate growing up. I really focused a lot in high school in Hong Kong on how to bring value back to many individuals. And both of these pictures here, from serving young kids to even working with other students for the deaf and mute community in Hong Kong. But personally, I have a STEM background, so I did molecular biology at HKU here, as well as entrepreneurship, where I was able to get a chance to try out different ideas and try to build different grants and work towards different opportunities. So I don't actually have an AI background. That's actually part of my team members, but really I focused on the core ideas coming from an academic scientific perspective and bringing that value back into the ideation. I was also a professional athlete. I played for Hong Kong in rugby for over 6 years, and then I retired during university to focus on school as well as the startup. It wasn't a lot of life balance happening at that time. And then personally, as to why I really focused on building mental health startup was a lot of my own personal experience, a lot of the personal experience of those around me. I personally lost friends to suicide and mental health issues. So it was very important to me to see, and kind of similar to what Florence mentioned, just seeing that lack of technology in the space, lack of innovation, and getting very upset or angry with the situation and wanting to make change. And so instead of waiting around, I decided, well, I have the privilege, I have the connections, let's try and make a difference. So personally, how I started was actually in a social entrepreneurship course at HKU. It was a school project, and we learned about design thinking. How do we make the right kind of approaches to building up an idea quickly? How do we test it quickly? How do we scale it and see whether it can be feasible? And was all about doing very quick testing and quick learning and failing forward. If you learn about lean startups, you'll hear about that. And so typically, for example, we have to really focus on the market size, whether it's viable or not, whether we can actually make money in this space as well as make impact, and a lot of inspiration behind the idea. Typically, when you want to build a social enterprise, you may consider different capacities of business structure, but for example, we're very structured in the social enterprise space where we value both impact and business. Right. So when I started Hollo, it was a very different idea. It was kind of, if you know what BetterHelp is, it's just online counseling available. And so I tried that idea out. I was a solo founder. It really wasn't working. There was no AI here involved, and I didn't have any partners. I tried to pitch to different schools, and it wasn't really working because I didn't understand the space. I wasn't approaching it with design thinking involved, and I had very little customer interviews, so it wasn't really working. We then won the Microsoft Imagine Cup in 2020. We were the global champion out of 28,000 students around the world. And the idea here was that we used computer vision to detect different types of signals that can help us understand or predict for depression, anxiety in different individuals. We put this together to try to give to psychologists and therapists to use on a platform. But here in Asia, we weren't quite ready for this type of tech. Tech in healthcare is already quite new to Asia. Tech in mental health care is even more niche, and therefore it wasn't really ready. So we decided we take a lot of this core AI data and AI models that we were generating and position it towards more specific population of clinical need in Hong Kong and Asia, which is chronic patients. And chronic patients really need a lot of mental health support, a lot of integrated healthcare support from psychologists, dietitians, physiotherapists, as well as their oncologists. But we don't get that very available in Hong Kong or Asia. And so that's our approach here, really targeting a clinical need and a clinical population. And so we decided we built a digital therapeutic, which is a digital treatment that makes use of technology, makes use of our screening to really care for the patient and provide a precision, personalized approach to their healthcare. And that's actually our current business model, where we focus on delivering a prescription to patients, where doctors prescribe it to their patients, and they're able to then benefit from the treatment, which is like a 22-day program. But I wasn't able to do this alone. So like Florence, I was very involved in the Hong Kong startup space, getting support from many different organizations and many different funding opportunities, which are really open and available to even students with just ideas. And as you develop and mature that project, you can actually get your hands on more funding. But it's definitely very difficult in deep tech in Hong Kong and Asia. And you definitely need to know the right kind of people and find ways to generate your own data sets. But yeah, we were part of more than 20 different competitions, but lately we were the top 150 in XPitch as well as almost winning the Horizon Prize and lost out to an NGO, a large 10-year-old NGO in the US. Yeah. So specifically, I'm trying to make sure I don't go over time here, so I'm sorry if I'm going too quickly. But if you want a very professional description of what we do, it's called precision mental health support through prescription digital therapeutics and digital biomarkers. It's a bit of a mouthful, but basically that just means detecting signals of mental health, understanding the patient, and then treating them digitally. And so we can help alleviate the resources needed by psychologists by replacing them in mild to moderate cases and then forwarding them to more serious cases in the future. My team is built from software engineers, data scientists, cognitive scientists, and we've got backgrounds in Oxford, Wellesley, and UCL, and HKU. And so we've been around the block a couple of times, and we're really focused on making sure the product and everything we do is very rigorous in terms of testing, in terms of clinical validation. But when you think about healthcare AI in your own space, when you think about your own innovation, you can think of it in different ways, where there's many different machine learning or CNN tools or neural network tools where you're able to think about how to apply that to healthcare. Typically what we see is 2 levels of precision. You go from understanding how you can detect or look at a disease at a population level, but then you can also look down at each individual patient. How does that disease vary between them? How does the characteristics of the disease be detected, whether you can find signals, whether you can find patterns, and bring that to different stages, either in the initial stage of screening to the treatment stage, even post-care, and understanding whether, for example, chronic conditions can re-flare up in the future. How do you help prevent that from happening, right? And so at Hollo, we kind of do a very similar approach here, like I just mentioned, doing the early stage screening, tracking and understanding, and then providing treatment. So for example, one of our deep tech models that we had as our flagship models use multimodal approaches. So we take video data, we take vocal data, we take semantic data from video journals of our patients, and we're able then to detect on a binary level to start with whether they're depressed or not. And in the future, we're looking at a lot more granular models where we're looking at exactly the kind of language that's being used. And if you can think about mental health as a mind map, like over here, then the different features of someone's personality, of someone's behavior can make up their mental health. And all of these factors have different signals. And so that's a lot of our research going into the detection side. And as I mentioned earlier, the treatment angle is really focused on how do you make best use of that AI data and apply it to a more precision approach. And so we use evidence-based treatments like acceptance commitment therapy here that works really well for chronic patients and provide that digital treatment to them. Right now, this is going through a clinical trial starting next month, very soon actually, at Queen Mary and at several other private oncology clinics. And so we'll be able to then analyze how effective is it at treating patients in real life, right? And so what we do encompasses a lot of research. We have a lot of apps more than just what's publicly facing. We have to do a lot of placebos. We have to build a lot of data generation channels through research projects and so on. And so there's many different ways to approach this. And our approach, instead of making a freemium app, was really doing an academic approach, partnering with professors, partnering with clinicians, and see whether we can bring value to patients that way. Yeah. And so when you think of healthcare, it's a big space. There's many different stakeholders, many different people you can support, and many different processes you can support. So it may not just be the detection and treatment. You can think about some of these other examples here that I laid out for you. And there's many different points. For example, in our stage, there's many points that we can bring AI to support processes. Okay. So this is just something for you to take away. I guess you can screenshot this if you'd like. Just thinking about, if you are building AI, how do you generate data for yourselves? Is it through freemium models? Is it through direct-to-consumer models that's widely available? Or you can go very down a clinical route, making sure you're rigorously collecting quality data rather than quantity, and then building your models that way. It's just something for you to think about on a more practical end of when you're building an AI project. Yeah, so I'm not taking Q&A right now, and I'll take it later, but hopefully that gives you a bit more insight. A little bit disorganized, but hopefully that makes sense. Thanks.
Thanks, Cameron, and I think it's really fruitful sharing. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, then put in the chat first, and then we can answer one by one in the panel discussion sections. So next, let me invite Turzo to share about his journey as well.
All right, so let me share my screen right here. All right, so hello everybody. My name is Turzo, and I'm from Seekr. And now today I'll briefly explain my journey through making this startup. Seekr is very young. Actually, it has been in operation for a year. And I'll start off by saying a little bit about myself. So I'm actually a chemical engineer by profession, and I actually trained as a chemical engineer, came to Hong Kong in 2015, and I studied at HKUST. However, as I started working in the industry, I realized that my passion was not exactly in chemical engineering, and something more that I felt deeply in heart. And you can see that I was actually involved with a lot of social impact projects with different NGOs and different organizations throughout my undergraduate studies. One of them notably being the Engineers Without Borders Hong Kong chapter, and for which we went to Myanmar in 2019. So that was actually one of the seed. I also went to Cambodia with HKUST to do some kind of like social impact projects in Cambodia. So throughout these experiences, I kind of built up this rapport where basically I was more interested in making an impact felt with my work rather than just working and not seeing the impact myself. So I started thinking that how can I actually bring my knowledge and as an engineer and help people in need or people who really needs to have a change. That's when COVID hit. And one thing about COVID was that it gave me a lot of time to think about a thing, as well as another thing to mention is that my grandfather is visually impaired. So one day I just called him, and he was telling me, my grandfather is in Bangladesh. So he was telling me that how he was having difficulty in like going out because everybody was practicing social isolation. And my grandfather is a very jolly person. He likes to interact with people. He likes to go and talk with his friends. However, with social isolation, he was at home, even like doing everyday tasks such as like asking somebody to read a newspaper to him, what felt like a very very difficult thing for him, because like he was relying on his family members, and he didn't like that. he wanted to go do some grocery shopping, but then he couldn't do that because like he had to like take somebody with him, or people were not available, right? Because like he's very touch reliant. He wants to touch everything, but with COVID he cannot do that. So that really made me thinking that okay, what can I do to help him? And also on the other side, my grandfather, he still like he practices a form of medicine, a form of like traditional medicine in back in the country, where he mixes different potions and gives it to like his friends and even consumes himself. So even the bottles were of the same similar form factors. So he was having quite a lot of difficulty in doing all of those things himself. Previously, his friends would be there with him to help him out. So either way, like I was thinking that okay, something similar to what Florence saw, that nowadays we have Tesla, which can automate self-driving. However, why cannot we do something for automating this whole human process? When I actually started digging deeper into it, I saw the need that okay, there is a lot of different other pain points. One of them is the difficulties for the visually impaired people to navigate spaces by themselves or with a guide dog. And when I was looking for some products already in the industry or already that's in circulation that can help him, we found out that the existing products lacked user focus, such as like there are a lot of free apps in the market, which requires the user to point the camera or the phone at the object that they want to identify, which does not really make sense from a design thinking perspective or even from a user journey. And a lot of these free apps have an overload of information because they either have a lot of advertisements in them if they're free, or they just have a lot of like cluttering, which kind of frustrates the user. So I was thinking, okay, how big is this problem? And then I started to actually dig deeper into and do some market analysis in Hong Kong. We found out that this effect of this lack of attention to the marginalized community in Hong Kong itself is a huge problem. According to the 2021 statistics from the Blind Union, there are almost about 200,000 visually impaired people in Hong Kong. And as per the statistics, the Hong Kong government loses almost $440 million due to this inaccessibility, and is only going to grow by 3 times in the next 3 decades due to this aging population and the visual impairment caused by aging. So then I went further and I was trying to see that, okay, how can we actually help them? And mind you, like this is all during COVID, so people were really, really not, they were not comfortable in coming ahead and like meeting me. Well, I still persisted, and I was really like persistent and approaching them. Either if we couldn't even go meet the visually impaired people themselves, we went to the caregivers, the caretakers who could meet us, and then to understand what they actually need. They told me a few things similar to what Florence mentioned, is that they don't want to carry a bulky medical looking device because they don't want to be labeled in the public. They want something simultaneous, feedback of the visual information around them to help them create a mind map, so that like if they go to a new setting, they actually at least have some understanding of what's around. And they also they definitely want to have an increased accessibility and reduce codependence. And that made me think about this product called Seekr, which is a wearable device, the first AI compact wearable, which can blend in as a necklace, or it can clip onto any piece of wearable that they have, like any piece of clothing that they have with a magnetic clip on. And with that, they can communicate with it through a Bluetooth conducting earpiece. It could be any Bluetooth capable earpiece that they just have. They just wear it, and it goes in with the overall fashion sense. It does not stand out. It doesn't make them stand out. And it's pretty small and similar to the size of the air purifier that you see around in Hong Kong these days. This is like one of a GIF of what the product is actually. And I would say that what Seekr really does is give them a hands-free experience, keeps their hands free, as well as like they can use this for daily usage of VIPs, and they can clip on this device onto any piece of clothing, so it doesn't really restrict them or their movement. So the solution is pretty simple. It's a wearable that has a mobile app. We found that almost 80% of the visually impaired people they use a iPhone because of its accessibility features. So we chose an iPhone as our testing bed, our first testing bed. The user can either use a standalone mobile app for point-in-time uses, such as like reading text, detecting objects, detecting depth, without any LiDAR sensors, because we realize the fact that LiDAR sensors are quite expensive, and if we want to really scale it up, we really need to depend on just cameras, which is cheap, which is easily available, and we can really scale this product. We went back to the drawing board. We spoke to professors at HKST to actually see that how can we avoid using LiDAR and just use some photogrammetry techniques to recreate that whole understanding of the depth and the visual surroundings. And I'll be talking a little bit more about our technical aspects later, but if the user decides to just use the wearable, they can use it for a continuous voice triggered assistive mode, for integrate functions such as object localization, path navigation. Here's a little bit of snippet of what the features currently are, or what the Seekr device can see. Here's a few papers with our professors that we are already in the process of like either published or publishing. Some basic features such as object detection, text recognition. This comes as a freemium with a freemium product. However, some other advanced features such as navigation and as well as like depth estimation comes in with a premium price. Here's a video of what the Seekr can do. It's a 1 minute small video, so let's just see. It can detect the labels on the objects. This is what the device looks like right now. And this is all happening in real time. We also have a spatial awareness feature now, which helps them to estimate the depth with just the use of a monocular camera. So it doesn't use any LiDAR sensor, no radar sensor, no millimeter wave sensor. Here's a small awards and recognition section. Again, we couldn't have done this. We started just a year ago, so we couldn't have really done so far without the support. In this picture, you can see the 3 earlier prototypes of our device. We really went in and was prototyping in our university with our 3D printers and really trying to see how can we make early MVP so that we can actually test it out with the users. For that, we received the seed incubation from HKSTP, a STEP program. Then we went back to the Techathon, where we were placed the first runners-up in the health and social impact category. Recently, we also were the seed fund incubatee from Gear Up, from HKU, IDA and Drawn. We were also the finalists for HKSCC, as well as like shortlisted for Good Seed and a few other funding rounds that are not mentioned here. But as a word of advice, there are a lot of support out there for good ideas. So definitely have a look. And I think my fellow presenters, Cameron and Florence, have already mentioned a few that is very common. So I would really, really urge you to like have a look into them. Here's the team. It's me as a CEO, and I am currently an MPhil student at HQST. Although my undergraduate was in chemical engineering, but during the COVID time, I really studied computer vision by myself. I remember like staying up late at night to just read through the different papers that were being published to get an understanding of what this field can do. I think particularly I was driven because I had a personal motive of helping my grandfather out. But I think if any early entrepreneurs or any like entrepreneurs in general, they have to find their own purpose and their own field. So for me, it was computer vision, and for me, it was like solving a problem for my grandfather. But you as young entrepreneurs, I think you have to find your own passion and own purpose. I am very, very fortunate to have actually a very integrated and very experienced team in the form of my friends and also an advisor in the form of Professor Tristan Broad. We have product designer who has experience working at Lalamove, a business developer, Lamia Shreya, who's a Juris Doctor candidate, so she looks after the legal as well as the business development at Seekr. She has over 5 years of experience in the social impact and startup world, and she's also an appointed member in the HKSAR Legislative Council. We have Reno, who's our hardware developer. He's also pursuing his PhD in microelectronics. So what I want to say from over here is that a team is really important, in the sense that you need to build a good team. And I think for starting a startup, the first very key important thing is finding the right team. So without further ado, I think I'll keep my thing short, and I'm looking forward to your question and answer in the panel discussion section. Thank you.
Thanks, Turzo. So I think I see quite some questions in the chat already. So maybe we can start from it. So one question is, so there's many assistant technology developed. So how you can convince others, especially the stakeholders. I think the stakeholders includes like the user or maybe some organization as well. You need to present or sell your product to them. So how you guys can convince the stakeholder that your solution is the maybe better solutions? Anyone want to go first?
Or I think Florence addressed. Florence, do you want to start, since you addressed it in the chat?
Yeah, maybe I start first. Actually, our product was developed through hundreds of interviews from the visually impaired community. At the first day we meet them, we just have an idea, and then we talk to the representative from the NGO. One of them is Hong Kong Society for the Blind, and they have very experienced staff who is also visually impaired. And they told us that they knew that many assistive device in the world, like some device from Shanghai or some product from UK, and then they told us a lot about the pros and cons, and then they even give us a wish list. So actually, our product is built based on the wish list that provided by the experts, and then we are quite confident that our product is unique, and then it is well tested by many users, and then they have the positive feedback. So this is my own experience.
Yeah, and I definitely can agree there in terms of competitiveness of a product really comes down to the end impact on the user, right? And so a lot of startups tend to fail because they don't solve the problem well enough for the users, or they solve a problem, but users aren't really willing to pay for that. And so when you think about competing, especially with deep technology, sometimes it's about price, sometimes it's about performance, sometimes it's about specific situations that your product works better in, right? And so, for example, for us, when we're thinking about competitiveness as a health tech product, the primary KPI or the primary indicators for us is really performance. How well do we actually help people recover in their mental health conditions? How well are we providing value to the doctors or other stakeholders? Is it more secure? Does it provide more objectivity? Does it provide more security or privacy for different individuals? And so when you think about it, it kind of has multiple levels of a competitiveness depending on your field, depending on which kind of tech for what kind of industry. But that's from my perspective. What do you think, Turzo?
Yes, I think for this question, I would actually tackle it in this way, that you first, even though you have an idea, you first need to do those design thinking steps. The first stage is like, once you have an idea, you actually go and you speak to your target consumers, the different stakeholders involved, whether that idea would they be willing to pay for it, or how much are they willing to pay for it. So rather than you pushing a technology to the consumers, you need to really see it from the bottom up, where you ask the consumers what they want, and then you create according to their need. So I think Florence mentioned something similar in in the chat box that, okay, LiDAR and GPU is expensive. However, if they're more concerned about the weight and the size and the fact that it needs to be, like, for example, for my product also, it needs to be really like not make them stand out in the crowd. So when those things are the first important factors, the consumers are willing to pay for it, or the users are willing to pay for it. So you really need to make that differentiation at the beginning stage, even before you have an MVP. When you're thinking about the product, you need to have that in your pipeline to make sure that the stakeholders are really engaged in that whole ideation phase, in that whole prototyping phase, so that at the end, when you make a product, they just buy it just for the pure sake of the usability.
Right. And I kind of want to add on a little bit before we do the next question, Siron. I mean, even if you, for example, take these guys' market, for example, the visually impaired, there's going to be different visually impaired people with different needs, different backgrounds, different personalities, different wants. So depending on whether they really care about that accessibility, whether they really care about that privacy aspect, then they're going to be different kind of personas. And in the end, these different personas will be different people's beachheads, which means like their first users. Who are they going to be? Where can they grow? And then eventually become very competitive, especially in a populated market like that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really true. I really agree that I feel like before talking about the competitive or like what is better or not, actually it is about what is the service gap or the user's need we are going to fill. So the next questions, I think, is also especially for Florence, but I would like to refine a bit the questions, because I think for all the startup or all the product, we always need to consider about, especially the AI solutions. There's a lot of cost. So how you guys do the cost management, or how you guys prioritize the cost? I think for all of the speakers, you guys can share about your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, AI is expensive. Software or hardware is very expensive. And I think these guys maybe can tell you a bit more about the hardware, but my product's very software orientated and maybe clinical trial orientated. And the bottom line is you have to end up spending money. But there's a lot of programs out there that do provide like cloud credits, whether it's Azure, Google Cloud, or AWS. There's going to be credits out there to use in the thousands of US dollars or hundreds of thousands of US dollars, especially recently. AWS, GCP, and Azure do a lot of startup programs where you kind of graduate to different stages and get, I think, even up to like 100,000 US in credits, which is a lot of money to save if you can use it all. Sometimes you can't even use it all. But yeah, in the end, you kind of have to really think about whether you want to pay for people, if you need that kind of staff, or if you have a great early stage team, then how can you make best use of either contractors or target demographic groups and so on. And that comes with experience, that comes with mentorship, but maybe these guys can give you a bit more angle on the hardware.
Florence, I think you're muted.
Yeah.
I think for the concern about cutting the cost, it is the second step for product development, because the first step I think is to develop MVP for a real product first, so that to prove your concept is really work. So during the first day, we actually don't consider the cost. We just think that, oh, we use this LiDAR and then can make it done, then we use it. So after we prove the concept is feasible, then we will try to cut down the cost. Like we don't use the LiDAR at the beginning, we just use the camera first. So this echo the opinion from Tashu. Your product is also use the camera due to the low cost, and also we do it as well. We now separate the product in different line, like the basic version or premium version. So for the premium versions, that for active user, then their device may come with the LiDAR. But just for the basic version, then we will just use the camera. So all in all, is the cost concern is the second step that for our product development.
Right. To add on to a little bit, so like I'm going to, I think both of them have mentioned very important parts in the whole prototyping phase. One being about the software management or the software lifecycle journey, where like the cost is quite high, and the other one is like after the MVP creation. So for us, it was a little different because like we in the beginning we really had we did not have much money. It was bootstrapped, so literally it was like mine and my co-founder's money. So what we really did was like I remember as a cost cutting strategy, we just used to buy like 5 or 6 units of the product or of the different ICs to just make that first MVP. And we went through so many stages where like in the electronic like the components, right? You really cannot trust the quality that like comes in. I mean, even if you buy the most expensive one, it might still fail. There's that failure aspect. So I remember going through a lot of phases where like, okay, everything is working. The soldering was well done. However, it still doesn't work. Then it turns out that the camera itself it's bad. So I think the key message that I'm trying to say is that if you really want to make that first MVP, you really do not need like that $100,000 to make that first MVP. You can still make it with that $5,000 or $5,000. Let's say that's like a ballpark figure, right? $5,000 product, depending on whatever hardware use case you have. But again, if you have the expensive LiDAR sensors and all of that, then it's a different game in general. However, if you're making a simple product, nowadays, like it's so easy to get somebody to manufacture your 3D printed product or your PCBs. So you really can get started really quickly and really ideate really quickly and get to that MVP part. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, I think in different stage there should be like different priority of your course, and also as Cameron said, yeah, just leverage some free resources or any resource you can find in the community. I think there's quite a lot of resources supporting startup in Hong Kong. So and other questions to Cameron, and also I think it can be simplified a bit for all the speakers as well. So like I would say for everyone, you guys make yourself to have your own AI model and have the underlying theory. So how you guys choose it and how you work with your team, especially those domain experts, to actualize the ideas.
Yeah. So I think it's definitely when you come to a very technical space where you're applying AI into another space, and I guess applied AI, and you have to really start to look at the existing literature in the space. So what other researchers are developing, what have they published about, what are kind of some of the industry standards, and why aren't they being used, why aren't they as effective, or how can you contribute to that space? And so your starting point may be replicating previous models or replicating different methodology. And then you kind of start to spin off your own model, start to look to see how you can improve it. And so when it came to our space, we really work in the effective computing, right? So that is a research space predominantly in the US, a little bit in Europe, and very few researchers in Asia. And so what we do is we talk to some of those experts, even reach out to them, and a lot of them are really open to talk about their research and kind of nerd out with you. But you can really start to see what some of their approaches were and how you can start to put a spin on it. And we definitely work closely with experts in our field when it comes to disease detection, when we're choosing the specific biomarker signals we want to be detecting. How do we understand these signals from different types of data points? And how can we generate new models or new pathways and contribute to the space? So that's why we work pretty closely with professors and pretty closely with researchers around the world. and you kind of have to balance between protecting your IP versus working with like a bit more of an open science perspective. I know a lot of international startups tend to prefer open science, whilst in Asia we're kind of still lagging behind, where they're very much like patent everything. And so I kind of come from a bit of a mixed perspective there. But yeah, maybe you guys can talk a bit about how you guys come up with AI models, or
Actually, our AI model is developed based on our research topic during the PhD, because my research topic is also the AI deep learning, like the features recognition, and then such process that actually can transfer to the object detection for assistive application, like to detect the different kind of object or even the facial expression that is the person's in front of you is moving, and then so our haptic guiding system can control can alert you that you don't need to pass over it. You just reduce your speed, that working together is okay. So I think we do have some AI foundations that can use from our previous research for both of us, our founders.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to echo whatever you have said already, because I think these are the two main pillars of like really getting into that AI journey. Is that first, either it's your research topic, or you just start with some open source frameworks, which where I started, because like I do not come from a computer science background. However, I come from chemical engineering. But I remember like when I found this topic, that okay, computer vision, what is it? There's like so many open source frameworks such as OpenCV, TensorFlow, PyTorch, and then every day there's new research going on here. So you really, once you delve into this field, you'll see it's an OpenC, and then you'll just continue learning more and more. And what happens is that after you go through this 10 or 15 different papers, you'll get a hang of how things are done. And that's when you try it out with your own, like what Cameron said, when you even start recreating those models, like let's say running them in your own computer, you'll already face some difficulties, and then you'll have to innovate, you'll have to tweak a model here and there, and then that's how your journey into this AI will actually go into, like, start going into fruition. So I'll really say that once you really, the first key thing of going into AI is you just have to get started. Get that open source model. If you're thinking about it, somebody probably must have done something similar. You just have to search it. Just use those resources. Go to your school departments. I had a lot of good interactions with my professor, and I'm really grateful that the professors at HKSC, they were super supportive. So I remember going back to them, saying that, hey, I do not have any AI experience, but I stumbled upon this topic, and I think I tried this, and this is where I'm at. And then we iterated together, and now we are coming to a more like refined way. So definitely use all those resources, get started, then go back to your research if you do not have any experience. Because like I can say that I did not have any experience in AI, and then I still got started, and I'm here. So definitely you guys can do it too.
That's good. Questions for myself. I think Turzo already covered a little bit. Is that so for especially for the young audience, if they want to start, they may not have a lot of experience. They may just start studying in the universities, and how they should start. Like they should join some interns in some company first, get some experience, or they should try some competitions. See any advice from you guys?
Actually, it made me remember that when I first started learning AI, to be honest, my bachelor degree is mechatronic engineering, and I work for the traditional production line development for several years. So my background in computer engineering is quite weak, but when I start the PhD, one day my supervisor said that, Florence, if you want to graduate, you really need to do some AI related research. So at the beginning that day, I start learning AI. And then the first thing I do is to Google the leading expert in this field. And then like Andrew or the Toronto professor, they are the leading expert in this field, and then they actually have lots of publication paper or record in the web, and also even some YouTube course. And then I think that every university student have a self-learning ability. So after you go through all that, the web resources, then you can try to open an account in GitHub, and then to find the open source code that's echo what Tatsu said. It just says that he also find the open source code, and then try to apply that code to see to check the result. Is it really work? And then you need to go through some debug process or find the suitable library to work with those code. And then during this iteration, you will learn very fast that you can master the AI technology.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of courses online available, a lot of free resources too. I mean, I just spoke at a event for students from Microsoft, and they had a lot of like primary school students learning AI and applying it in Minecraft, for example, as an application space. And so I think it's definitely there's different levels of it, and you can really start to think about maybe start by looking at processes that you want to be automating or think AI can be applied there. You can really just learn about how AI can benefit different spaces, and then start to generate ideas about maybe I can apply it here or apply it there, and learn those skills and start with open source like these two have mentioned. I think there's a lot of great resources out there, a lot of blog posts, a lot of coursework. Yeah, it's definitely a lot of self-learning though.
How about Turzo? Do you have other things to add?
I think for software, like the barrier to or the entry barrier is very, very low these days. Anybody with a laptop, with a decently performing laptop, can get into all of this AI field. And even if you do not have a GPU, let's say you don't have a GPU at home, Google gives the Google Colab, which gives you 12 hours of free GPU that you can use. You can actually run those models. A lot of GitHub links or GitHub repos have the Google Colab links on them, where you can just see how people have made it. Right. The barrier to a hardware product or a hardware AI product integration might be a little bit more. However, I can suggest a lot of good kits, development kits, such as from Google. They have the Maker Kit. There's a lot of Arduino kits that's available. So anybody who wants to really get into hardware and AI integration, that's a really good starting point, because like you can actually get the tangible product, and you can actually start tweaking with those tangible products. They have like the kits, when you buy it, it's pretty cheap. Probably like 500 or 600 Hong Kong dollars. You buy it, and then when you start tinkering with it, you already can build something good, or you can already like replicate what the modules have asked you to do. Then, as Cameron mentioned, then you start thinking, okay, how can I make it better, or what do I want it to do, right? And then you start actually innovating. That's the whole process. So really, these are the two main things that comes to my mind. One is the software AI integration, and then there's the hardware AI.
Yeah. So I think there's quite a lot of free resources for the audience. You can chat and start from there. And there's the starting point is quite, the barrier is quite low, and then you can start from learning and also get access to those free resources. And I just saw Mandy from Microsoft also share a link in chat on some free resources for you guys to use. So another questions. So when up to you guys have the ideas or the things you want to do, you must have a very great team to support you or to make the things together. So will you guys share a bit like how you find your team? I think it's will be quite interesting, especially like how you meet your co-founders, how you build your team step by step.
Turzo?
Yeah, you want me to start?
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. So, my story about finding my teammates is like, one of my teammate is my first year university roommate. So basically, like I knew him from my first year at HKUST, and so he's more like a brother to me. And when I first thought, like during COVID, when we were all like locked down and working from home, we used to meet, and over like coffee, I was telling him this idea, and then like that's how I met my first teammate. And the others, they're all my friends. So I think look into your friend circle and see who you can actually trust, who you can actually share your idea with. You'll already find some really good people there. And then the other place where I found my co-founders was in competition. Like when I was attending hackathons, when I was attending like some speech, like pitching ceremonies or pitching sessions, I met them there also. So basically, then literally like you can actually start seeing the people that you can form a team with. I would want to highlight the point that even more than the idea, having a good team, or you might have the best idea, but having a great team that's going to support you through the ups and downs is the most important part of having a startup, be it AI or any other startup. Because you might have a great idea, you might have great execution. However, if you don't have a team that backs you or that backs the idea, then it gets really difficult. So find that team, find it from your friends, but don't just limit to friends. Keep your eyes open for anybody that you like really vibe with, from people from different hackathons, classes. As university students or high school students, you might find a lot of your classmates that are interested in similar topics. Even another source is GitHub. I don't know whether it sounds legitimate, but then you can actually find good people on GitHub. Like that, you can see their code base, the code that they write, and you can actually already start talking, and they're gonna nerd out stuff as Cameron mentioned, and then you can already start find some teammates there. So there's a lot of places. Just keep your options open. Yeah.
I would I would contest the idea of working with friends. It takes a very particular type of friend or colleague to have that level of trust and ability to work together well in a professional manner outside of a friendship, because startups do tend to get quite heated, tend to get quite competitive between co-founders, and a lot of butting heads, even with early team members. So I don't work well with friends like that. So I tend to be a bit more on the professional side, try to find people that are good at what they do, but from hackathons, from referrals from friends and people you know, or even if this might be later in life, but if you are in the startup space, find those founders that do well and that you really understand, and they have similar ideas or similar interests, and try to work with them. And because I think like finding members to build product with you is really, it's almost easy to find people to work or build with you, but finding people that are able to be a startup founder is kind of another step up, right? Because being a startup founder is more than just building products, more than just serving customers. It's really about how you are able to be fully committed together, fully working on growing as a founder, growing those skill sets that are beyond just building products. And that's something that is very hard to find. And I mean, you can go through team members or people that work with you quite quickly, but your co-founder should be someone that you are able to stick with you through a lot of thick and thin. And I've had a lot of difficulty with that, finding my members. But yeah, what about you, Florence?
I think you guys did mention a very good point. Like the Turzo said that you maybe you can find some friends to work with you, and then Cameron just said that maybe just friend is not enough. So for my view, actually, my company have two co-founder, including myself and my partner. And my partner is actually my PhD peer, working in the same floor. Actually, he's my neighbor, and then in the nearby laboratory. We are not working in the same laboratory, but one day we find each other. We are the minor proportion of local PhD in the same floor. Like there are over 13 PhD coming from mainland, and also part of it coming from the rest of the world. But if for a Hong Kong PhD, then maybe just one or two. Then we one day we come to meet together in the pantry, and then know each other, and then we find the project that we are doing is quite interesting. Like my project is use the AI detection, image detection for cells, and then he think that, oh, it is really interesting, and then he used the AI technology to do some Chinese medical application, and then the Chinese medical diagnosis to use the pulse to detect the pattern, and then both of us think that, oh, the project that we are doing is quite interesting. Then we meet more frequently, and one day we have the same vision. We think that, oh, the technology is very advanced, but the people that in need, they do not have a decent device that they can use. And then with these same visions, we open the company together. So I think that both you have some condition to find your teammate to work with you. So the first condition is at least you're a friend, or you have friendly relationship. And the second is you share the same vision. You believe the future plan. And then so you have fulfilled these 2 points, then you will find a good partner for it.
Yeah, and yeah, I think it's really great stories, because it is difficult to do everything by yourself. So you always need to have a team, have a co-founder to work together. So time is running out, and we thanks Turzo, Cameron, and Florence as the speakers today. And I think the discussions and all you guys sharing is very fruitful and give a lot of insight and information to the students and all the audience to think about they need to start their startup, especially implementing AI, the technology to do something for the environment or for the society. There is quite a lot of possibilities, and there's always important to take the first step. There's a lot of free resources. There are a lot of things you can make use of. So I think that's the end of today's event. And my colleagues just shared a feedback form in the chat. So you guys have to fill in and let us know your thoughts. So we will regularly doing this kind of community events. So just share your thoughts, and we will plan our next sessions. And if you guys want to have a face-to-face meet, and again, we will have a 5-day event and it will be held in our center in Chinwan. So hope to see you guys, and also thanks all the speakers again, and have a nice, good day. Yeah, thanks, and bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.